Hello, I'm Jonathan Bowman-Perks, and welcome back to part of the Inspiring Leadership series and my favourite time of the day. And I've just come off a coaching session with a CEO and 8 of his executives in a tech company. And I was very inspired by it. The CEO ran things really well. It was a feedback and a feed-forward session with his stakeholders who are actually involved in helping him grow and become a better leader in the next year. And do you know what? As part of the crisis that's going on at the moment, the epidemic, the pandemic that we're dealing with, which as someone once described is almost like a nuclear winter that's going on. This is going to be going for months, possibly a year or 2 years. The impact of this it's not going to be over quick. So you've got to adapt to it, and you're doing all this remote working. So really inspired by the way he ran this session, and also the fact that some people are thinking, oh no, we won't do any leadership. We're not going to do any development in these tough times. He said, no, leadership is more important than ever as we're dealing with this pandemic and the huge impact on the business. So don't save on leadership, spend on leadership, because that's when people give their best. He had 360 feedback from me. He had got 20 people involved doing the online Inspiring Leadership inventory that we've designed, and it goes down very well. So people were commenting on him as an inspiring leader, and he'd commented on himself. I'd also interviewed 8 people by phone. I'd talked to them, and I got those 2 reports together. And from that, and what people had said about what he did well and what he could do better, he'd chosen 2 behaviors. The 2 that he'd chosen, one was creating greater psychological safety. That is key in the current climate. If there's not enough psychological safety, people don't trust each other, they don't open up, and they can't innovate, be creative, and get themselves out of this crisis they're in at the moment. And he knew as part of greater psychological safety, he's going to display these behaviors. He's going to listen better, and he's going to physically and verbally appreciate people, catch them doing things right, what he likes about them and the work they've done in the moment. Don't leave it for months. Give them that feedback, what you appreciate about them. They need that. People are remote and quite down at the moment, so they need that lift. So that was behavior 1, creating greater psychological safety. Behavior 2 was inspiring leadership. He chose that himself, but he wanted to inspire the people he's the CEO, the people in his organization through these tough months and years ahead by preparing for things more formally, by being very focused about what the organization's about and communicating with greater emotional and social intelligence. So he's conscious of people's needs and feelings, because people forget what you say, they forget what you do, but they never forget how you make them feel. So remember, in when you're transacting with people or you're getting things done, in your focus to get things done, save your company, survive and then thrive, don't forget to remember how you want people to feel at the end of the interaction. Some points that came from this interactive session with his team. Daily updates by video. He is doing every day a 10-minute short video, under 10 minutes, of reminding people of the overall purpose of the organization and quick update of what's going on with coronavirus and the impact on the business, future sales, that kind of stuff. Do those daily updates by video if you're the leader. Secondly, they have a backup behind that where they can communicate by Slack, one of the technologies, but whatever system you have where people can communicate, because there needs to be more communication within remote teams than there's ever been before. For him to be a successful leader in this process of feedback and feed forward, he needs to, 1, show courage, the courage to ask for feedback from people and feed forward for the next 30 days, the humility to listen without interrupting and telling people they're wrong, because that creates psychological safety, and the discipline to keep doing this month after month. What they appreciated about this CEO was that he's done a really good transition. He planned ahead of this, saw things coming early on with what's going on in China, and he said we need to transition to remote working. And they had emergency planning where they practiced when they were going to have to go remote working. So when they did go remote working, it wasn't such a shock to the system because they'd done some preparation and planning for it. And you've got to be prepared for doing this for months. This has got to be sustainable. Plan for the long term, hope for the best, but you've got to plan for the worst, hope for the best. The other thing that came across very clearly is people join an organization to work for great leaders. So they join a great organization, but as was once said, they leave poor managers, they leave poor leaders. So they buy into the leader at any level, and they will also check out if you're not the good leader. So your leadership is so important at this stage. Don't cut on leadership and your development and getting honest feedback from a third party. I would say that because I'm a leadership coach, but someone who can tell it you honestly and isn't bothered if you fire them, fine, but hear the honesty. Don't be in denial. Final 2 points. When you're giving feedback, last 30 days, and feed forward the next 30 days, some tips on the area he's working on, which was creating greater psychological safety and then inspiring leadership. Don't be a critic, don't be a cynic, don't be a judge, because people won't trust and they won't listen to what you're saying. Don't sugarcoat things, but be honest and be open with them. And finally, care about your people. People work for people. They're humans. They've got families. And you see now on the videos now, we're seeing small children running in to have a hug with mum or dad, stuff going on in the backgrounds, like we've got with Marguerite, who's got all the extreme health illnesses and she's got Alzheimer's. She'll wander in. I need to give her some help in the middle of a video, whatever it might be. So people are very human. They have real lives, and you're seeing this for now. They're not automatons. Treat them humanly, and they will give their heart, body, and soul for the success of your organization. You need to survive and thrive in these climates, and you'll do it with good leadership. Don't cut out on leadership and go, we're not going to spend any money on leadership. Big mistake, big mistake. Leadership is crucial. Good luck, guys.